Whew. Can't believe I'm doing this. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Young Black Misses. I'm your host, Morgane F. And if you're looking at me on YouTube, hello, friend. And if you're listening to me on whatever podcast you prefer, hello, friend. I feel like, I need to start singing Aaliyah. It's been a long time. I know I left you without a dope pod to step to, but I'm back and I have some incredible life updates to share with you. This is my first time with me physically on YouTube in this podcast form. So we're figuring it out. And if you are watching me on YouTube, Young Black Misses is a podcast for newly married women. I'm consider myself Young Black Misses because when I started, I felt young. I am Black and I was newly married. And we talk about all types of topics from, of course, marriage and love and how people became Mrs., wedding planning. But this particular season, season 5, we're going to dive into family, love, and friendship. And I'm so excited to share my story and stories of other young Black misses and other women that are walking this journey to figure out what this thing we call life. So, you know, let's just get into it. I usually would do some segments, what you chewing, shaking my curls. We'll see what future Morgan lands on when it comes to editing, but let's just get into it. Shaking my curls, I'm shaking my curls, I'm shaking my curls, shaking my curls, I'm shaking my curls, I'm shaking my curls, I'm shaking my curls. Shaking my curls. I want to say it's been since 2023 since I hopped on the pod. And to be honest with you, this is the second time I've recorded this. So low-key, I probably should check and make sure that my mic is actually working before I move forward to do anything else. And it's a new mic and I'm downstairs in my basement that I'm never in. And I think the biggest thing that I'm shaking my curls at is just not living to your full potential. Not being able to say, this is the only life that I know of that I'm going to be able to have. Let me live it and let me live it well. I was in a season of waiting for motherhood, for a different job, for a new car, for more friends in my life. We're all in a season of waiting. But what do you do in that season of waiting? What do you do? And I chose to live. And for those that are in the season of waiting and you're feeling like I'm stuck here, you can turn left, you can turn right, you can go straight, but don't go back because you don't need to go back. Full stop. There's really nothing for you behind, right? Forward is the best way. So I'm shaking up my curls I guess I'm shaking my curls at just being still and stagnant. Continue to always move forward. Easier said than done, I realize, but harder to be stuck, uncomfortable to be stuck. That's not a fun place. That's not a place where anyone wants to be. Moving forward, even if it's a small step, is way more beneficial than steadily looking at your rear view mirror. All right, let's get on to the next segment. Like where to begin? Okay. So if you've listened to this pod at all, you may know a little about me. I encourage you to go back and listen to, because I have over 90 episodes of Shay quality potting with awesome guests. And we're actually going to have a repeat guest here in a couple weeks from now. But I'm always talking about love, marriage, love, marriage, love, marriage. I'm talking to moms, but that I wasn't in my mom season, right? And I've never really shared much about my motherhood journey, as it always was to me, kind of depressing because it never felt like it was going to have a happy ending. And I'm just warning you right now, I'm gonna talk about Jesus, okay? So I feel like if you've watched or I'm sorry, if you've listened to my podcast before or if you've followed me on social media, you know I'm gonna talk about Jesus. So, you know, warning, I guess if that offends you, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm gonna talk about Jesus, okay? So I've always felt like it wasn't going to have a happy ending. Just when I first was getting married, I found out that I had a few things going on with my body that would make it hard for me to have biological. I laugh because God is good. Hard for me to have biological kids naturally. Okay. So I was pretty much under the understanding that I was going to have to go through some infertility type something or other to be able to have natural, like, I guess, my own kids through my body, right? But a 26, 27-year-old is really who's not really who's just thinking about what's in front of her is not really thinking about the future. And so it didn't really bother me or really I was focused on the wedding. I was focused on the marriage. I prayed that, when it was my time, God would just be like, you got it. Just like open the floodgates and then just rain down a blessing. Okay. And, as I had mentioned in the shaking my curls portion, a lot of waiting, a lot of waiting. I got married in 2018. I didn't really try to have a kid or anything like that. Like, I mean, not really. It wasn't serious about trying to have a kid until I don't even know. Honestly, years be yearing. Maybe 2020, 21, 22. I don't know. I don't know. I want to say 2021 or 2022. Um, because I knew I was going to have to do something strange. And so I was more focused on, okay, let me get my money right because I hear these infertility treatments are expensive, right? So I was spending my time trying to get my money right. I'm sorry, if you're watching me, my ponytail, my bun is bothering me and I don't really know how to fix it. So this is the problem when you're like on the pod, you're not having to look at yourself. Anyway, so I landed a job where they actually had coverage for adoption and infertility treatment. And I've always called this job like, I don't know. I've always just kind of, I didn't know how long I'd be at this job or whatever. But I'm so grateful for everything that this job, my current job, has offered me. Full stop. No, really nothing negative to say about my job in that retrospect. But it offered benefits that would allow me to be able to get some infertility treatment. So I got a referral from my doctor, and I had a dream that a older Black doctor would help me get pregnant. And I looked up the doctor that I was referred to, and what do you know? An older, light-skinned Black doctor. And I just giggled. I'm like, all right, God, you ordered my steps, and I love that. But I was so naive about IVF, in vitro fertilization, thinking that, oh yeah, you do the thing, you take the medicine and boom, a baby. No. And maybe it's because I didn't know people that were actually in this realm doing this thing. And maybe I should have educated myself a little bit more before just jumping into it, not really understanding the financial and emotional, more or less emotional, because again, like all I had to pay for was medication. So, and the clinic I was going to didn't even ask you for a deposit, right? I don't remember dates and times and like I honestly don't even remember what year it was when I started this. I want to say it was 2021 maybe. So, but all I know is that I went to a clinic. I went through a couple rounds. I don't feel comfortable saying whatever. I went through a couple rounds. Was more than one. I went through a couple rounds, and the first round didn't take. I guess maybe you might need a little explanation of how IVF goes. So this is just like without overly explaining it. Basically, you are put on medication to help your body, I guess, what's the easiest way to say? Make a lot of eggs. Yes, there we go. Make a lot of eggs. Now, depending on how people do it, and if you're interested in IVF, then do your Googles. But I'm going to just give you from my point of view, the Morgane explains it all point of view. So the first thing they do is have you get on a lot of medication to be able to have you have a lot of eggs. And then once the time is ready, like we had a calendar and you started taking certain medication that would stop you from having a period. And then your body would, with the medication, like, I don't want to say harvest, but yeah, that's the only word I can think of, harvest a lot of eggs. And then they would retract said eggs. And if you had a partner or spouse or whatever, or a donor egg, then you would use, or sorry, a donor sperm, then you would put the sperm with the egg through a cool sciencey thing. And then those eggs, the sperm would turn into embryos, which I affectionately called M babies. And you would wait and wait and see how many M babies you were able to still keep alive, I suppose, in a incubated situation, for lack of a better, more educated way of explaining this. So usually you only have to do that egg retrieval once because the goal is you'll get a whole lot that one time. And then you'll either go through a fresh egg transfer or a frozen egg transfer. Well, I did a transfer. No bueno. Very devastated because I was very naive, thinking, oh my God, like I'm gonna be a mom. And low key, honestly, because of the calendar stuff, I was kind of irritated about when I would be like have the child, which is why I knew I wasn't in the right place, right? I was kind of like, oh man, I remember telling this to my mom, like, oh well, I didn't want to have the child at that time of the year. Stupidest thing I've ever said, right? Um, so so many letdowns when it came to this IVF thing not working out. And then you're getting to an age where other people around you are just getting pregnant, and then you're having comparison, and then people that don't know your situation are are talking and asking you why you're not having kids. I remember I had just did an egg retrieval and the medication. Okay, so literally there's like a little tube, or this is where you get knocked out. There's something that goes inside of your vagina, your uterus, to extract the eggs, right? So I'm looking bloated. I'm looking about a good, 10 weeks pregnant, okay? And then I was at a party and someone said, "Oh, no babies yet?" And I am just so pissed. And like in hindsight, I should have just been like, don't ever ask a woman that. Full stop. Stop. Right? Because you don't know what us young ladies are going through. Full stop. You don't. And if I care to be open about it, that's my business. If I don't, I don't. But like, full stop. Mind your business. Okay. Like, yep. So again, couple rounds of this, and the my doctor, who was an older gentleman, was retiring. And I knew he was retiring. I knew he was retiring the following year. But it was such a joy that the dream that I had that said, this is the doctor that will get you pregnant. He did. We just had an early loss. And I can say that with a smile behind some sad eyes, I suppose, because there was a lot of healing that I had to do after the fact. And it's weird to grieve someone you've never even seen or even saw their heartbeat or nothing like that. But it didn't matter because it was like, this thing I've been waiting for, this thing I've been waiting for, this, it happened. But you know what I was so grateful for? I was so grateful for there was no issues being able to take care of my body and being able to make sure that I wasn't harmed. I was safe, even though, unfortunately, my child was not going to be viable, right? I am grateful that I was able to have that kind of health care, right? Because so many women now aren't able to have that kind of health care because of what's going on right now. And so just putting that out there. Just very happy that I was able to be safe. And I hope that if you're watching this and thinking, clearly I wanted that child, I didn't want to have to do anything to not have that child, but it was not viable. And for the best of my body and my future children, I was able to make a decision with me and my doctor to be able to take care of myself and for any children that come in the future for my family building. So that's what I will say. So, through a lot of healing and just grieving over someone that I've never seen but hold dear, I don't even have a name for this sweet, sweet soul. I kind of felt like what I didn't mention, but I will mention now, is that I have been going through acupuncture and classic Chinese medicine with herbs and moxa blast as well. And I will have the acupuncturist and herbalist on in a few weeks from now. So stay tuned for that. But I was going with that through through my IVF journey. And after the loss, they're like, oh, we can go one more time. I did not want to. Every time that I did a cycle, that's what I'm calling it, like a round. Every time that I did a cycle around of IVF, I always had enough money to pay for everything. This particular time, I didn't. I didn't. I didn't have the money. And I felt like that was God being like, girl, I've ordered your steps. I'd have made sure you always had the money, then some, okay? This time, not so much, but here you are. And I'm not saying that I was, being disobedient or whatever, but I think God was like, okay, and we're done. So once that final round with the clinic was unsuccessful, I was heartbroken, you know, but still optimistic, very optimistic in like a weird kind of way. Like, I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. I don't know how you're going to do this, God, but you're going to show up. So it was the summer of 2023. Now I do know dates for this. It was the summer of 2023, and I was getting real focused on taking care of my body and working out because we were going on a beach vacation, and I wanted to have my little swimsuits looking good. I wanted to be cute on the beach. And I ended up continuing with the acupuncture and the herbalists, like the formulas and such from the acupuncturist or whatever I'm trying to say. And I continued with that. And in July, I always wanted to go on a raw vegan challenge. Um, and I just thought it would be better and more fun to do it during the summertime when you feel okay about not eating hot food. I don't know if I want to do that in the winter, but so I did that. I don't have any reason for telling you that. I'm just setting the scene. I'm not saying that this will help you or anything. I'm just telling you, you know, I'm just setting the scene. And on social media, oh, am I going to remember the scripture? On social media, I think I will. A scripture was following me, like following me. Let me make sure I get it right. I hope no noise comes on while I'm starting to do this, looking on my phone. It's easy when you can't find anything, or it's harder when you can't find anything. And it's been so long that I'm gonna have to dig a little bit. Let's see here. Come on, get into it. Oh, so it was right there. So Isaiah 60:22 followed me that whole summer. I swear, every time I would get on social media, on Instagram, it would be there. So much that I started a folder of it. And you could just like almost like you have your feed. It would just be in all the boxes. That's how much it was following me. And then other things were just following me. So if you're not familiar with the scripture, I don't have a tattoo, but this might be the one I get. It says, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. Or some other versions will say, at the right time, I, the Lord, will make it happen, right? Something to that extent, right? And it just kept following me, and following me. And I was like, I say less. I'm gonna go out and live my life while I'm in this season of waiting, God. I'm gonna go out and take a vacation. I'm gonna go out and enjoy being with my husband, and whatever comes, and your will be done, God. So I had met with a new infertility specialist. I don't remember exactly. Oh, well, I actually met with a new OBGYN at the top of July. I think this was before I went on the trip. And I was still pretty upset about everything. And I met her for the first time and I just cried. And I was like, yeah, hi, nice to meet you. I'm going to cry now because I'm still dealing with this. She gave me a referral to another uh, IVF specialist. And then I took that call and met with that person. And she also said I should probably consider going back to therapy because I had stopped because I was just in a funk. Um, and I respect my doctor for saying that. Thank you. And so after that, I met with the IVF specialist. And the way that IVF usually works is you're on a certain calendar of times where you take your meds to be able to produce those eggs, to be able to extract said eggs and freeze and however it was going to work. But you had to catch your period first in order for you to be able to start the medication, right? And so once I had gotten the nerve up to call and do the appointment, it was going to cost $1,000, a deposit. I called, but unfortunately, the date I wanted, because here I go again with this date, talking about this date. Honestly, this time was for insurance purposes, right? Because I really wanted to do the transfer in September. um I'm sorry, the egg retrieval in September so that it would all be done by December, so for insurance, right? But this I ended up not being able to do that. I ended up having to do it in October, which means I was waiting for my period in August to come. So I would call them in August and say, hey, I have my period, and I would start my medication. So there's that. Um, So I'm still going and working with my acupuncturist in July, and I come back from my trip, and my acupuncturist, who you'll learn more about this, but she checks my pulses, and this is kind of her way of, getting a diagnosis of how I'm doing. And she's like, "Hey, you're late and your pulses feel weird. Take a pregnancy test." She was so confident she gave me the first trimester formula, right? Unfortunately, the next day or maybe 2 days later, I got my period. But to her point, I was very late. I was like 7 or 9 days late, I think. And I correspond with her via email. And she said, hey, don't get discouraged. Your pulses have not felt like that. We're getting somewhere. Keep going. And then I go back and get the formula or whatever. The next month, well, I really want to watch The Bachelorette. This was the particular season, and I wonder if they're still together. This was the particular season where it was two Black people that looked like they were going to get together. And I'm like, ooh, I want to watch this with a glass of wine. But I had realized I was late. And I think I had worked an event the weekend before, like that weekend. I work fundraising events. I think I had worked an event and my stomach was in shambles, right? And I wasn't drinking anything because I just kind of wasn't feeling good. It's funny. So I'm like, all right. Monday comes. I hear you're supposed to take this pregnancy test. first thing in the morning. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna take this test. Then that way, I'll know I'm good to drink my glass of wine while I watch The Bachelorette. Well, to my chagrin, and for some reason, I like saved urine like from the sample. I don't know why. I saved a little bit because I was just thinking, well, if this is like I don't know why I'm late. I'm usually like clockwork with this cycle. Like I don't know why I'm late. Because I was at maybe 7 to 10 days late. I'm like, I don't know why I'm late. So I used the cheapo one, like a little Amazon one that I had. And then I had like a name brand, like a first response or a clear blue or something like that. And I saved a little bit of the urine sample. Just I don't know why. I don't know. I saved a little bit. And so when the first one was clearly positive, I don't know, I just didn't believe it. So I was like, oh, okay, well, let me just double check again. And I put, I test the more expensive clear blue one. And when it said pregnant, I said, how? Because I was always told that I physically wouldn't be able to do this um, without IVF, right? So I immediately called my doctor or I might have called and I might have put in the portal. And they responded back in the portal, hey, we usually don't confirm because I'm over here in this IVF world. Like, I need a blood test to check the levels of my HSG, like all that kind of stuff. And so they called me, the nurse, I can't remember her name, but God bless her. I ended up meeting her later in the pregnancy. I explained to her my situation, and she gets me an appointment to see my newest to me doctor. And my doctor is like, "Wow, well, we're just gonna see how everything goes." Well, or it might have been the nurse. I don't know. We're just kind of gonna see how everything goes. But I was terrified, completely terrified, because I'm thinking this is a topic. Obviously, this is a topic. Clearly, I mean, how else would this happen? This is not. So I just mosey my booty right over to the ER and had the most expensive pregnancy test. Did not have a glass of wine, never watched that show of The Bachelor, although I know how it ended because, whatever. And I think to myself every day when I look at my sweet, sweet daughter, you are supposed to be here. For at the right time, I, the Lord, will make it or happen. Even though I was getting all mad and upset about the calendar dates not being what I wanted to do and, whatever. If for some reason that last girl didn't take that spot and I was going to start my period in July, which I got, who knows? Who knows what would have happened? Because I was waiting on my period to take the medication to start the cycle. When I say I called that new clinic back and that lady on the phone from accounting said respectfully, I don't ever want to hear from you again. And I'm gonna send you your money back. I said, frankly, I don't want to hear from you again either. Okay. But if I need you, I know how to find you. And this journey to motherhood over the course of a few years of ups and downs and bad news, like none of it even matters when I look at my daughter. Like none of it. Like I think that's partially why I can't remember days because who cares? Like, and I also think if I never have another biological kid, okay, whatever. I mean, I would like another one, but yeah, whatever. I'm just so grateful for her, my sweet, sweet girl. She's 6 months now. And the joys of motherhood have continued to pour and pour out. And I'm just so excited to continue to be on this journey with the most chill baby thus far. Knock on some wood and pray to sweet baby Jesus. Um, and that's she her daddy kid with that chillness. But if perhaps it's not having a kid that is your struggle, maybe it's finding that spouse. So you will be a Mrs. or a friendship that you've just been longing for, or, insert whatever you're waiting for. Um, Waiting's tough. But you know what else is also pretty tough? When you get that thing that you've been waiting for, when you get that thing that you've been praying for, it's like, okay, what's next? And I think that's what I'm exploring now. So that's been a little bit of my life update. I hope that, it makes you smile. I guess the positive tip would be really excited about this upcoming season 5 of the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, if you've made it this far, please hit the like button and subscribe. And for my folks listening, make sure you share with a friend and, follow. I think it's another thing you could do. Follow, share with a friend, and then I would love a review. I would love a review if you're listening on an app where you can leave a review. 5 stars, please. Thank you. I've got some amazing conversations coming up in the following weeks about motherhood and getting to find your friends in a unique stage like this. I cannot wait for you to hear. Next week, I'm going to be talking with Elaine, who is an, I guess we're calling it a mom twin. So actually, in the following week, I'll also be talking with some mom twins. So we've all got babies around the same time, baby girls around the same time. So we're just sharing our experiences as new moms, and conversation and goofiness ensues. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, did I give you a positive? Yeah, I'm excited about this podcast. That's the positive tip. So if you've listened this far, thank you so much. Until next time, peace. Oh, perfect timing because my what's the name just went off.